So what are you fighting for?
Life.
The Brotherhood without banners is the Game of Thrones answer to Robin Hood and his merry men. Unlike almost every other group we meet, they don't believe in hierarchy or noble blood. They could care less who sits on the Iron Throne, and they're not out for self-gain. The Brotherhood is fighting a losing but very important battle, looking out for the common man.
The Lords of Westeros want to burn the countryside. We're trying to save it.
Ask yourself, who has suffered the most in Game of Thrones? Could it be Catelyn Stark, who watched her son die in front of her eyes moments before her throat was slit? Sansa, who's watched her family be hunted down while she's held captive by multiple sociopaths? Theon Greyjoy, who grapples with intense PTSD both for the abuse he's suffered and the wrongs he regrets committing. You might even argue it's everyone's favorite rage-filled grieving mother, Cersei. Yet, in fact, the biggest victim of all in this story is a character without a name. The people of the Seven Kingdoms.
Sir Gregor will head out with 500 riders and set a riverland on fire from God's Eye to the Red Fork.
In any war between big powers, it's the regular citizens who are the casualties. Everyone in this tale preys on the common folk. The people endure scorched earth tactics, constant pillaging.
Raiders come plundering, steal our food, steal our silver.
And the attacks of violent, opportunistic individuals who take advantage of the chaos.
Who were they?
I stopped asking a while ago.
There's a food shortage due to the war. And lest we forget, winter is here.
He's weak. He can't protect himself. They'll both be dead come winter.
The Brotherhood is the only organization that takes any interest in helping the people with all of this insane hardship. This scruffy bunch of misfits might not be the champions the people would choose, but they're all they've got.
There's no story so good a drink won't make it better.
They're also probably the newest faction we meet on the show. It might seem only yesterday that Ned Stark sends Beric Dondarrion and a small group of men to the Riverlands to apprehend the terror that is the Mountain.
I charge you to bring the king's justice to the false knight Gregor Clegane.
So the Brotherhood is born from an honorable man's orders to stand up to dishonor and injustice. That original cause failed, but its spirit lives on as the Brotherhood remains together, pledging to protect the common folk.
And these were the king's people the lions were savaging. If we could not fight for Robert, we would fight for them.
Going into Season 8, what remains of the Brotherhood has relocated to the north to defend against the White Walkers, the greatest threat to the people of Westeros. The scenery might have changed, but the fight remains the same. So let's take a look at the Brotherhood without banners to explore what it means to be for the people in Game of Thrones, and why staying true to that cause isn't always so simple.
You and I won't find much joy while we're here. But we can keep others alive. We can defend those who can't defend themselves.
Before we go on, we want to tell you a little bit about this video's sponsor. Mubi is a curated film streaming service with a twist. You get 30 films per month, a new film every day. It's a hand-picked selection of movie gems from around the world. So click the link in our description below to get a full month of Mubi for free.
I'm not fighting so some man or woman I barely know can sit on a throne made of swords.
The Brotherhood doesn't have the sigil of a great house or official words we can read into, but the group's lack of these things is significant. The fact that it's without banners is so central it's in the name.
Who do you fight for?
The Brotherhood without banners.
The meaning of being without banners is that this group doesn't and won't fight for any great house. Instead, the Brotherhood stands against banners that hurt the poor. Here's Beric uttering the closest thing we get to a motto.
No matter whose cloak you wear, Lannister, Stark, Baratheon, you prey in the weak. The Brotherhood without banners will hunt you down.
Because the nameless, regular people of Westeros don't get a fancy sigil, the Brotherhood rejects the self-importance of a banner too. They seek no name recognition, glory, or power. The other word in their name holds another key to their identity. They're a brotherhood. This group is revolutionary in the Seven Kingdoms because it's democratic.
You just said you were serving Lord Beric.
He may be their leader, but they chose him.
The Brotherhood's similarities to Robin Hood and his merry men are uncanny.
Now tell the sheriff for every harm he does these people, I will visit it back on him tenfold.
The Brotherhood is led by a disgraced nobleman, with a decorated veteran for a second-in-command, and they have a marksman who only misses when he means to. Robin Hood happens to be all of those things. So it's as if these three together add up to one Robin. Thoros and Friar Tuck are both clergymen with a taste for alcohol.
I thought you were the bravest man I ever saw. Just the drunkest.
Both groups fight tyranny.
The Brotherhood without banners is rallying the commoners against us.
And they have a larger-than-life, almost magical aura about them.
So I advise you move, because I'm done talking.
At their core, these are mostly good people with a generosity of spirit, a rarity in Westeros.
You can finish your meals before you go. It may be a while before you see another.
Most fundamentally, the Brotherhood shares Robin Hood's central value: justice. The famous idea of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor is another way of saying restoring justice to an unjust world.
Because, sire, the poor, you see, he gives them what he takes, so, well, sire, they love him.
Robin Hood may be an outlaw, but that's because the laws of his government are wrong, corrupt, and inhumane. The same is true for the Brotherhood. Soon after they're formed by Ned Stark, that honorable man is falsely accused of treason and beheaded. So by continuing to exist, they situate themselves outside of or against the law. Still, this is the Westeros version of Robin Hood, and that's far from the Disney one. Game of Thrones is known for finding the complex in what seems simple. And fighting for the honorable cause of the common man can be a murky, even dirty thing in this world. Whereas Robin and his merry outlaws are incredibly successful in taking down the King of England, here, more realistically, Beric and his men have pretty limited success through guerrilla warfare. For the most part, they're powerless against the better equipped.
They're just foot soldiers in the Great War.
Often more an annoyance than a real threat to the powers that be.
We think it was an infiltrator from the Brotherhood without banners.
Pretentious name for a band of outlaws.
In order to become more effective, they need means, which creates a moral dilemma. The people they're protecting aren't in any position to fund them, so the Brotherhood has to compromise a lot to stay afloat.
Are you telling me?
Don't think of it that way.
But it is that way.
It is. But it isn't.
More is than isn't.
And while Robin Hood's MO is to steal from the rich and give to the poor, the Brotherhood sometimes has to sacrifice the poor as well. Gendry is enchanted by the Brotherhood's ethos and sees them as a new family.
These men are brothers. They're a family. I've never had a family.
But they sell him to Melisandre to pay for their efforts.
We can't defend the people without weapons and horses and food. And we can't get weapons and horses and food without gold.
When Gendry later meets the Brotherhood's leadership again, they stand by using and betraying him for the greater good.
You sold me to a witch.
We're fighting a great war. Wars cost money.
They believe it's a necessary evil to sacrifice and betray individual persons in order to serve the people at large. The Brotherhood has pride in being inclusive of all types.
You look like a bunch of swineherds.
Some of us were swineherds, and some was tanners and masons.
But, like the Night's Watch, the Brotherhood casts its net so wide it might bring in some bad fish. In Season 6, members of the Brotherhood bully a religious community for resources.
Food, then. Protecting the people is hungry work.
I'm sure it is. You're welcome to stay for supper.
Before coming back to slaughter them all and take what little they have. These men don't reflect the Brotherhood's ethos and are punished.
It's the Brotherhood's good name they've dragged through the dirt.
But this episode calls into question the group's discipline, recruitment model, and judgment. The Brotherhood can appear compromised and amoral as they justify almost any means necessary for their noble ends. And they sometimes forget that it matters not just why, but also how you fight.
But letting him go was the right thing. And I have more reason than most to want him hanged.
It's fucking luck I end up with a band of fire worshippers.
The Brotherhood isn't just a political group, it's also a religious one.
Once we sought to bring the king's justice to the realm. Now we bring the Lord's.
Its members worship R'hllor, the Lord of Light, who's also known as Fire God, and whose names include the Red God and the Heart of Fire. So the Brotherhood is most associated with the element fire. Beric has a flaming sword, and the Brotherhood invokes fire both literally and figuratively in their pursuit of justice and retribution for the guilty.
Strike this man down if he is guilty. Give strength to his sword if he is true.
The Lord of Light is inspired by the ancient religion of Zoroastrianism, which considers fire the agent of purity and truth. And fire is seen by multiple religions as representing the divine flame. Just as individual flame is engulfed by fire as a whole, each member of the Brotherhood sees himself as an indistinguishable part of the collective divine will. Fire and light can represent enlightenment, truth, or wisdom, and the Brotherhood's members feel they have seen the truth, both about their Lord and about their world. The element is linked to fervor and zeal, just as the Brotherhood may appear to some in the Seven Kingdoms as fanatical extremists. As we see in the Targaryens, with their capacity for both power and madness, fire has a duality to it.
Every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin.
It's both the spark of life and an unstoppable force of destruction. And we see this duality in the Brotherhood too, whose enlightened mission is complicated by contradictions and a darker side. In Greek mythology, Prometheus, in defiance of the gods, stole fire for humanity, enabling progress and civilization. There's a Promethean aspect to the Brotherhood too. They are taking from the gods of this society to enable a better life for the people. Again, echoing Robin Hood, but with a more spiritual bent. Prometheus was punished for his deeds, and the Brotherhood too has been relentlessly hunted, their numbers dwindling while Beric pays with his frequent deaths.
Every time I come back, I'm a bit less. Pieces of you get chipped away.
The Lord of Light is also known as the god of flame and shadow.
For the night is dark and full of terrors.
The night is dark and full of terrors.
And shadow, the inverse of light or fire, is a symbolic element for the Brotherhood too. These men fight in the shadows. They use guerrilla warfare to strike far bigger and superior forces. They're also some of the only people we meet who've had first-hand experience of death.
The other side. There is no other side.
Members of the Brotherhood expect to die for their cause, maybe more than once.
How many times have you brought me back?
This makes 6.
This capacity for resurrection defines the Brotherhood. While this collection of men came together thanks to Ned Stark's orders, the Brotherhood found their true calling and began in earnest after a faithless priest accidentally revived his best friend.
I felt his heart thud beneath his breast. His body shuddered as the fire of life rekindled inside it.
In fiction, divine resurrection often imbues a character with a renewed or clarified sense of purpose. In the Brotherhood's case, the revival gives purpose to both the revived and the reviver.
The Lord of Light is keeping Beric alive for a reason. He gave a failed drunk priest the power to bring him back for a reason.
Before Beric was brought back, Thoros was a lustful drunk who was a priest only in name.
I cared more about the king's cellars, but I joined Lord Beric for the adventure.
And Beric was a glory-hunting tourney knight who got outwitted by, of all people, the Mountain.
Ser Gregor isn't called the Mountain because of his subtlety, yet he took us by surprise at the Mummer's Ford.
And then there's the Mountain's brother, Sandor Clegane.
You're the worst in the Seven Kingdoms!
Who is also potentially brought back from death.
Thought you were dead.
Not yet.
While it's left unclear, the Hound is at least thought to be dead before he wakes up.
I was gonna give you a proper burial and then you coughed.
Eventually, despite his deep skepticism, the Hound too must acknowledge that he shares their mission. These resurrections make the brothers feel they're on Earth to carry out a higher cause.
We are part of something larger than ourselves.
Yet that doesn't mean they know what that cause is.
We serve the Lord of Light. And the Lord of Light needs this boy.
For Melisandre, faith is all about finding and empowering the Promised One.
He's the Lord's chosen.
And that's also true for other worshippers we meet.
Daenerys has been sent to lead the people against the darkness.
But for Beric and Thoros, it's about...
I don't know. I don't understand, our Lord.
They accept what they don't know. And when they get an unexpected sign from the Lord, they listen and change paths. Like when the Hound defeats Beric in a trial by combat, and they realize their Lord doesn't want this man to die just yet, even if they struggle to see his latent potential.
Burn in hell!
He will. But not today.
This hesitance to kill someone they shouldn't is the inverse of Melisandre, who rushes to sacrifice people on the off chance they might help her side. The Brotherhood's trusting in their lord's unknowable will pays off when the Hound joins them. So this story shows what true faith looks like. It entails the patience to let the grand design be revealed slowly over time, and perhaps never in full. By embracing his own limits, Beric embodies one of the Brotherhood's most compelling virtues: humility. Stannis is driven to the Lord of Light by self-interest. We can see it in the lusty way he looks at Melisandre, turned on by the idea of the power he believes she can give to him. The shadow monster she gives birth to, fathered by Stannis to kill his own brother, embodies the dark selfishness at the root of his religiosity.
Soon I should be sitting on the Iron Throne.
But the Brotherhood's brand of faith makes no demands of its lord. And it's telling that while both Beric and Stannis die, only one gets to come back and fight another day, as only one is truly devoted to their lord's will, whatever that turns out to be. You might see some parallels between the Brotherhood and the communist or socialist movements in history. Both espouse some degree of equality in a world that's resolutely unequal, and are based on relatively new ideologies that the upper classes view as radical and potentially dangerous. But communists and socialists in real-life history tend to be atheistic or agnostic, focused on building a better world on Earth rather than promising paradise in the afterlife. So it's striking that by contrast, the Brotherhood is so fiercely religious. Perhaps this speaks to the fact that in this world, it's more or less impossible to achieve any semblance of equality. But it also reveals that the battle being waged here has supernatural, spiritual aspects. The Brotherhood positions itself as for life itself, fighting against death.
Death is the enemy.
And while there's a sense of fatalism in the Brotherhood's death-filled storyline, it's inspirational how fully they've given up control and are willing at any moment to lay down their individual lives in the fight for all life.
You lost your priest. This is your last life.
I've been waiting for the end for a long time. Maybe the Lord brought me here to find it.
By season 6, the Brotherhood's job in the Riverland's nearly done. They've weakened the Frey's hold on the region, giving Arya an opening to finish them off.
Winter came for House Frey.
And the Brotherhood sees that the deepest threat to the people is coming from the north.
Good and bad, young and old. The things we're fighting will destroy them all alike.
The R'hllor faith speaks of the cosmic struggle between the Lord of Light and the Great Other.
There are but two, a god of light and love and joy, and a god of darkness, evil and fear, eternally at war.
So in the eyes of the Brotherhood, this battle with the White Walkers is a face-off with the ultimate enemy, death, what all their efforts have been leading up to.
The enemy always wins, and we still need to fight him.
None of the banners we see in Game of Thrones truly put the interest of the people first, if they take them into account at all. The Lannister philosophy on this subject is well known.
A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
The more high-minded Stark and Baratheon forces, too, are guilty of hurting the vulnerable. The Tyrells put on a spectacle to be beloved by the people.
From now on, we're going to take care of you. All of you.
But it's mainly for political gain. And Daenerys, who frees countless slaves as she advances toward Westeros, isn't without self-interest in this enterprise. As each time she tells the slaves to rise up and take their freedom, this enables her army to take each city. Comparing all these approaches with the Brotherhood's philosophy might get us thinking about the kind of rhetoric we hear in our lives, from the powerful expressing concern for everyday citizens. The Brotherhood reminds us that any person who seeks to retain power can't truly put the people first. Actually serving the common good is a tough, thankless, sometimes ugly job. Despite the flaws in their approach and the limits in their effectiveness, the fact that the Brotherhood exists at all is revolutionary in this world. So we have to give this group its due for staying loyal to the people, valuing actions over words, and always keeping their eyes on the biggest picture of all.
You can't see us, but we see you.
Hey guys, this is Grace, and today I want to talk to you about one of our favorite places to watch movies, Mubi. Mubi is a treasure trove of films from around the globe. Every day a new film is added and the oldest is taken away. So in this world where it's very easy to spend hours debating what you should watch, Mubi is like having a really cool friend with amazing taste in movies, making it so much easier for you. They feature hard-to-come-by masterpieces, indie festival darlings, influential art house and foreign films, lesser-known films by your favorite famous directors, and more. Plus, you can even download the films to watch offline. And there are no ads ever. One movie you can watch right now on Mubi is Gloria, directed by Academy Award winner Sebastian Lelio. It's the story of a vivacious, middle-aged divorcee determined to add some excitement to her life through a new relationship. We can't recommend Mubi highly enough. You can try it out now for free for a whole month. Just click the link in the description below.